I'm Brian Ross in New York. Thanks for joining me. A guilty plea for a violent attack on an ex-girlfriend with a knife, a drunk driving charge, and an open warrant for arrest. They're troubling accusations for anyone, but especially the trusted aide of a senator on a public payroll. This is the man Louisiana Republican Senator David Vitter assigned to handle women's issues for his staff, Brent Furer. Even after the senator knew Furer had pleaded guilty to attacking a former girlfriend and threatening to kill her. But Furer lost his job this week, hours after an ABC News investigation of his many brushes with the law was posted on our website at abcnews.com, the blotter. The attack took place after hours in Furer's Capitol Hill apartment. Photographs of the young woman, who also worked as a Senate aide, show stitches, bruises, and cuts she says she suffered. According to police records, the woman said she was held at knife point for 90 minutes, threatened with death, and pushed around repeatedly, thrown to the floor with her cell phone smashed so she could not call the police. Furer, who had previous arrests for drunk driving and possession of cocaine, pleaded guilty to 3 misdemeanors in connection with the assault, but Senator Vitter kept him on his staff after a 5-day suspension without pay and continued to use him as his point person on women's issues. It raised the question for many in Washington of why.
Mr. Furer beat up his girlfriend so badly that she required stitches and reported the matter to the police. And yet despite that, despite the fact that David Vitter's office knew about Mr. Furer's conduct, he was kept on staff. And this is despite the fact that Mr. Vitter has come out against domestic violence, portraying himself as someone who takes that kind of crime seriously. This suggests he does not. I'd want to know why he would be willing to keep a guy like this on his staff. Mr. Furer has many strikes against him: drunk driving, road rage, battery of a woman. Why would you keep someone like that on staff? What possibly motivates you to keep that kind of person in the United States Senate? I think the real question is, why would Senator David Vitter keep somebody like that on his staff? Most senators would cut someone like that loose very quickly. So why now? Why keep him here? Is there something else that Mr. Furer knows about Mr. Vitter that makes it worth keeping him around? Is there some reason he needs to protect this guy? These are the kind of important questions you need to ask.
It was only after we broke the story of Furer's many brushes with the law that Senator Vitter finally demanded his aide's resignation. Joining me now is Matthew Mosk, who heads the ABC News investigative unit in Washington. And Matt, let me ask you, why do you think it took Senator Vitter so long? He knew about the convictions.
Well, I'll tell you, Brian, this is not your typical resume for a Capitol Hill staffer. And there's really no question that Senator Vitter knew that this member of his staff, this trusted aide, had these problems. But we haven't been able to get an answer from Senator Vitter as to why he kept him on for so long.
In fact, you and I have been trying to find Senator Vitter for the last week or so, spending long hours in front of the many fundraisers he's had, but he's dodged us, huh?
He has a good understanding of where to find the back door and the back alley.
In fact, you caught up with him just briefly. What did he say to you?
He said he did not have time to talk to us. He put his phone to his ear and he bolted into his office building.
Now, we first got this report. Let's give an idea of how we did this story. We first got a tip, really, from Melanie Sloan that there was this court case. But after that, it took a lot of digging to find the other brushes with the law, the arrests down in Louisiana.
Right. Well, he had this case in Washington. That was the one that we were made aware of. That was a pretty ugly case. It was a situation, an altercation that this staffer, Brent Furer, had with his female friend in his apartment, and he held her hostage for 90 minutes and was accused by her of stabbing her in the hand with a knife and threatening to kill her. Now, he pled guilty to lesser charges, and he never served any time for that. What we found were a whole nother host of records from back in Baton Rouge and in Louisiana.
That's drunk driving and...
Drunk driving and cocaine possession. And the senator's office has said that they were not aware of these cases. However, it was one of the senator's own aides, his regional director, who oversaw Brent Furer's court-ordered community service down in Louisiana.
And there was an outstanding arrest warrant. He would be arrested now if he were found in Louisiana?
That's right. He failed to appear in court on one of those drunk driving cases, and the Baton Rouge Sheriff's Department posted a warrant for his arrest in Louisiana.
So what do you say about this case? What does it say about the Senate staffers? We don't really hear much about them usually.
Well, I think the big question about this case is if Senator Vitter was aware of all the troubles that this young man had had, what are the reasons that he kept him on? The one thing that we were told in Brent Furer's defense was that he was a veteran of the first Gulf War and that he had some terrible experiences while fighting in Kuwait and Iraq. And it may be that the senator felt great sympathy for him or wanted to give him a second and a third and even a fourth chance.
That would be the charitable explanation, but I take it you're still working on the story.
We'd like to learn more about it, that's for sure.
Matt, thank you very much. For more on our investigations, go to abcnews.com and click on the blotter. You can follow us on Facebook or Twitter for more on our investigations or to talk with our investigative team.